Have you ever felt as though someone was trying to control you? Have you ever tried to control somebody else? This video will be highlighting some of the methods of control that people use, and will also be covering forms of control that happen on a much larger scale. Most importantly, this video is about your personal freedom. If you're ready to find out more, please proceed and continue to watch this video. Many people who use control tactics on a regular basis also happen to be narcissistic, so please consider that what you're about to hear will also strongly relate to the narcissists in your life. It's important to recognize that every person engages in something called projection. This is a defense mechanism that Sigmund Freud exposed and involves accusing someone of having the unwanted traits or feelings that you are experiencing. However, sometimes there comes the reverse of this, where instead of seeing our unwanted traits in somebody else, we may project our most desired traits on another, expecting that they have good intentions in the same way that we do. As much as we would like to think that this is a positive thing, it can be incredibly harmful and naive to exercise this kind of reverse projection on someone who's only looking to control people. In a way, it's the equivalent to putting your finger inside the mouth of a wolf dressed in sheep's clothing. It allows you to get closer to the controller, where they will begin to gradually utilize their tactics on you. It's going to be useful for your safety then to understand that others may not have the same intentions. Be open to the fact that all people have the potential to exhibit positive qualities. But that doesn't mean they're actually doing it. Trust only the consistent actions you see in a person, and definitely trust your instincts rather than the image you're projecting on them. When you're talking to a controller, you'll find that everything runs very smoothly until you express an opinion that differs from theirs. While it's important to remember that everyone may feel disappointed with a disagreement, the controller type will not back down until you've started to question your own perceptions and ideas. They will want you to feel mentally debilitated so that you have no choice but to trust their convictions. This ties in with a form of manipulation called gaslighting. Everyone uses this technique at certain points in their life, but when it's done negatively, it becomes a cause for great concern. Gaslighting somebody involves making them question their own reality. The gaslighter might even be telling an obvious lie, but they say it with such seriousness that you eventually start to believe it. You start to question your own judgments and perhaps even your sanity. They will say and do things to make you question yourself to the point where the only reality you can accept is theirs. This is an important topic, so I recommend doing some extensive research on this for your own safety. Just remember that sometimes gaslighting is needed in a positive way to break somebody out of an unhealthy belief. Often, a therapist or a good friend might use this technique to bring about positive change in your life. This is why you have to be aware that much of this comes down to a person's intentions. A controller won't care about your sanity or how you feel. They'll be harsh or simply pretend to be kind to you so that you trust them. Always determine whether or not somebody's gaslighting is for the betterment of your well-being. Bear in mind that after the controller has done some damage to you, they will definitely make attempts to praise you, even if it's just a little bit. They'll choose something good to say about you, which will bring you more confusion and have you wondering if they're really that bad. The fact is, if you look at what they praised you for, you're likely to discover that it was for something that served them. They do this to reinforce that behavior, but also to keep you under their control. Unfortunately, when you continue to be part of this person's life, they'll feel that their attempt to control you worked, and that means they can do it again. This particular cycle of psychological abuse can be carried out by anyone from a friend, to a family member, to a lawyer, to a business professional, to a religious leader, to a politician, and yes, even your therapist. Those in the healing professions are not ethically supposed to manipulate you, but that doesn't mean they're incapable of doing so. In fact, if they're good enough at doing it, they'll create a client so under their control that they know how to get them to keep coming back. They'll create a client that becomes too attached and even fearful to ever report their behavior. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, it's important to start exercising your own personal freedom. And talking to people who you can trust about your concern may help you see the situation more objectively, so that you start to feel justified in taking healthy steps away from the controller. Now, mentioning projection again is very important. The controller is likely to insult you at some point, especially if you disagree with them on something. Watch out for what they say because the chances are it's telling you a great deal about them. See, the controller type will not willingly share intimate details about themselves. They're afraid to be in an emotionally vulnerable position, so you probably don't know much about them. Whatever you do know is likely to be intentional on their part, and might have been said to help you form the impression they want you to form of them. Instead of telling you their qualities directly, the controller will project onto you with insults. Many of them will be inaccurate, but keep in mind that it's likely those insults are really more relevant to their personality. On this note, they're also incredibly likely to play the victim. I can't really stress this enough. When all else fails and they've tried various tactics, including raising their voice or intimidating you, they will jump into the role of the victim. Meanwhile, they will say things that lead you to feel as though you've done something wrong, when you know perfectly well that you haven't. Gaslighting can be used alongside this to try to convince you that you were the one doing the wrong thing. The controller type wants to win at all costs, so if you have pointed out fallacies in their argument that they can't back away from, they will start acting as though you have attacked them. Stand your ground here, and do not feel guilty for a thing, unless you really did do something that was abusive. If you feel sorry for them, they think they've won. They just want you to back down, and the last thing they will do is accept responsibility for their actions, so being a victim helps them avoid this confrontation. At a certain point, words can only do so much for the controller. For this reason, you must realize that control can happen through the use of absolutely no words. The removal of their presence in some way is also a form of control, whether or not it follows other methods of control. This is what we refer to as the silent treatment. The period of silence they give you is one of the worst forms of abuse because it leaves you feeling unloved, unwanted, and insignificant. This is a form of punishment from the controller, sometimes when none of the tactics worked on you. It's intended also to see exactly how much of a pull they have on you. If, in their silent treatment, you continue to pursue them and request reconciliation, they know that they have your emotions wrapped around their finger. Since you don't want to lose them, they feel they have an upper hand and can accurately assess your loyalty to them. Keep in mind that there is far more to discuss on this topic, but it's my attempt to keep this as short as possible. I'll be continuing on each point in more detail in future videos. Before I finish, I'd like to briefly mention some methods of control that relate specifically to NLP, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and conversational hypnosis. For those who don't know what these are, I would recommend doing some research. Take note that NLP and hypnosis are very useful tools when they're used for the purpose of healing others, but can be damaging to people when used as a weapon. Journalists, politicians, and business people are just some of the professionals who use these methods in their own favor. Some people don't know that they're using these techniques, and others do. Nonetheless, they're used all the time, and it's very commonly seen in the media to help influence you in some way, usually for commercial reasons. The first I want to mention is submodalities. To put it simply, someone looking to control you may notice that you have a positive or negative emotional response to certain information or words. When your response is in the knowing of the controller, they can practice the art of conversational or covert hypnosis to trigger a response from you that they want. If they want you to feel uneasy, they'll simply recall the words that made you feel that way last and place them carefully in the body of their conversation. If they do a good job of it, you may not even be aware that they're doing it, and therefore you don't know they're intentionally controlling your response. This would be a great way for the controller to provoke you to act out, so they can point a finger at you and create a situation that works in their favor. Now, for a quick overview of a few more techniques, I'll make mention that a controller using NLP techniques will pay extremely close attention to your every movement. This will include your eye movements, body language, pupil dilation, and tone of voice. It's really quite extensive. When they get a grasp on what your patterns are, they can understand how to talk to you in a way that will make you more susceptible to their suggestions. For example, If they notice that your eyes often gaze to the upper left or right, they know you mostly process information visually. The words they use to you will then be very visual in nature, or they may even use images for you to appeal to you more. There is also misdirection, redirection, deception, anchoring, the use of hot words, bypassing the conscious mind, and much more. I would like to expand on these techniques more extensively in another video, specifically dedicated to NLP and hypnosis. It's my suggestion to you that you do some research on the topic for yourself and see if there's anything you've noticed being used by the controller in your life. Whether or not your controller is that intricate in their methods, it's useful to understand these tools because they absolutely can be used for self-improvement. The more known this information is to the general public, the better. Staying informed can make it so that the controllers will no longer be able to use those techniques without giving themselves away. If they do, and the majority of people are aware of it, it's far less likely to work. Keep growing, keep learning, keep informing yourself, keep reflecting and self-improving. When you do this, you're already shattering the elusive reality the controller constructed for you. Just remember, if there's something to take away from this video, it's that no amount of mind control can happen without your participation. When you're aware, you can remind yourself that you're always in control, and that no matter what, you're free to think and feel what you want. The controller is just like a magician. All they want is to make you believe. If you believe in their manipulation, they have you. If you believe in your freedom, there's no way that your powerful mind can be harmed. Thank you so much for watching this video. When you like this video, share it and subscribe to my channel. You're making a positive contribution to yourself and those you care about. And remember, keep taking steps to inspire authentic growth.